Hello, this is JD again, still candidate running for president. What am I going to talk to you today about? Military. Our military, basically, and the pros and cons, or whichever you want to do. Why should we have such a strong, powerful military? Why should we tie up so much of our tax money into our military? Well, the best way to give it to you is tell you about something that happened to me years ago. I spent 26 years in the Navy. Yes, I did. 26 years in the Navy. And during that time, I had many experiences. One experience was at MIT. When the John F. Kennedy aircraft carrier JFK pulled into Boston, we spent several days. It was the first time we were up there, and it was a big deal. And I was going through looking at stuff and walking around. Well, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, is up there. And we had to wear our uniform, so everywhere I went I was in my military uniform. And basically what it came down to is that as I was walking through MIT, there were some auditoriums, theater sections, and one was have some people practicing, and it was a Save the Whale group, and they were doing some kind of a play. And I went in to watch them. I was sitting there in the seats, and they noticed me, in my uniform, and they decided that they were a very activist group, and they decided they were going to try to put me on the spot. So they called me and asked me some questions. So I remember I was sitting up there on the stage with my feet dangling down in front, and they asked me questions about the military. Basically, why do we have nuclear weapons on the Kennedy, which I neither affirmed or denied. Personally, I didn't know one way or the other, so I could neither affirm or deny it. But the fact is, they were kind of really down on the military. Now, being a young man who was born June 4th, 1948, back in the late 60s, that made me 19, 20 years old. And I was very much involved in peace movement. But then I joined the Navy. And these people were very anti-military and kind of, why should we waste our money? And I said, it's really not a waste of money. And he said, what do you mean? How do you explain that? And here's the best way to explain it, the way I did there. You're walking down the street, any street in any city, and you have to go down between these two streets, so you have to go through a small alleyway. And you're walking down there, out jumps a guy with a gun. He wants to rob you. Basically, he just disrupted peace. He decided he wants to attack you. He wants your money. You have an option of giving him your money or, letting him beat you up and stuff. So you really didn't establish any peace there. If you give him the money, if you have to go down the street regularly, he's going to be there waiting for you. So how does having a strong military correlate with this? Well, let's take the scenario a little different. You're walking down the street this time, you're in a long trench coat, and this is the first time you go down the street. It's not like you prepare for this. And you're walking down the street, the guy jumps out with the gun, and he aims the gun at you. You raise your arm, and now facing him is a double-barrel shotgun with both hammers cocked. He's looking at that double barrel. He's got his little .38 pistol, and you got this double-barrel shotgun. If he pulls that trigger, he's going to throw this little piece of half ounce of lead into you, maybe. You pull those triggers, you're going to cut his body in half. What's he going to do? He takes his gun, puts it back in his coat, walks away. You just established peace. He's not going to bother you, and you're not interested in bothering him. And that's what's very important. That's why we have the military. Now you might say, well, okay, so but the world. A general in Iraq said it best when they asked him, when's the killing going to stop in Iraq? And his answer was, when they start loving their children more than they hate each other. And that is the problem with the world. They hate each other so bad, they don't care about hurting their children. They hate each other so bad, they starve their women and children. They hate each other so bad, they kill and maim their women and children. The world outside the United States has a lot of hate in it. And unfortunately, that is the way it is. You might say, oh, no, look about you. If you want to disagree with me, look at Darfur. What's going on there? That's hate. Those are hate crimes. Look at in Iraq and Afghanistan, the Taliban. What are they doing? That's hate. The Al-Qaeda, that's hate. That is not a cause, that is hate. You Shiite Muslims attacking the others, that's hate. They hate each other more than they love their children. That's why we have our military. That's why our military is there. I'd love the world to be a loving place. I'd love the world to be a caring place. I'd love the world to be just half as good as the United States is, where people got along as half as well as they do in the United States. But they don't. Now, is the military the answer? No, it's the final answer, not the first. Because when military is used, whether or not you win the battle, whether or not you're the man standing in the battlefield, once one of your soldiers die, you lose. Nobody wins in a military action. Everybody loses. If you disagree with me on that, ask these parents of these soldiers who died. Did they win? Their sons gave up their life for a cause. Nobody wins when military action is used. But it must be sometimes. Therefore, in today's world, the way today's world is, yes, we do have to have a military. But remember, it is not the first answer to a problem. It is the final answer when nothing else works, when nothing else will do. And why must we have a military? Until this world learns to love their children more than they hate each other. That's the answer. So I hope you understand why we have such a powerful military to establish peace, and understand why a need for military, because of hate. I thank you for your time. If you have any more questions about it, feel free to ask me. I'll be glad to give you more information as far as how I feel about the military. Remember, I said it's not the first answer. It's not the second or third. It is the final. Because when you use the military, at that point, you also lose. You may win the battle, but you still lose. Thank you. Have a nice day. This is JD. Remember, I'm running for president.